You walk into a sports bar, right? And you look up at this massive, totally flawless 4K game spanning across 4 different
Oh
TVs.
yeah, it looks incredible.
Right, and you'd probably assume there's, I don't know, some $1 million server rack hiding in the back room running all that digital magic. But today we're diving into the actual spec sheet and user reviews for a $300 box that actually pulls this off.
Yeah, it's a WolfPack 4K 30 Hz 2x4 video wall controller with splicing and amp from HDTV Supply, which is definitely a mouthful.
It really is a mouthful, but our mission today is to break down how this specific piece of AV gear takes a massive data stream and physically forces it across multiple screens, and it does it without dropping a single pixel. So, okay, let's unpack this. Think of this controller as like a digital traffic cop. It takes this huge stream of high-res 4K video and perfectly directs it into different lanes.
I mean, that is a really great way to put it. It honestly changes how you look at those massive displays once you understand the actual processing behind them. Yeah. Because if you look at the core specs, this unit takes 2 HDMI inputs at 4K resolution.
Running at 30 hertz, right?
Right, exactly, at 30 hertz. And then it distributes that signal across 4 HDMI outputs at 1080p resolution, running at 60 hertz.
Okay, wait. So if 4K is exactly 4 times the resolution of 1080p, this box isn't really compressing the video, is it?
No, not at all.
It's like, imagine you have a massive high-definition poster, and you use a paper cutter to perfectly slice it into 4 equal 1080p squares. You're basically just dividing it into native quadrants.
Yeah, the math works out flawlessly there. It literally takes that single 4K image and maps it pixel for pixel across 4 native 1080p screens.
Wow.
And what's really cool is, depending on your physical space, you can arrange those screens in a standard 2x2 grid, or stack them in a 1x4 vertical strip, or even lay them out as a 4x1 horizontal banner.
Right, so you get this true point-to-point digital display where the image edges just line up perfectly, which actually brings up a really specific kind of quirky feature on the spec sheet, the 180-degree image rotation.
Oh yeah, the ceiling mode.
Yeah. At first glance, having a dedicated ceiling rotation mode seems like an odd hardware inclusion. Like, why would you need that?
Well, it's funny you mention that, because if you look at how these walls are actually built in the real world, commercial TVs often have a thicker bottom bezel.
Oh, right, the physical frame around the screen.
Exactly. So installers will actually mount the top row of TVs completely upside down. That allows the razor-thin top bezels to touch in the middle of the grid, making the gap as small as possible. So the controller just flips the top images digitally, so the picture looks entirely seamless.
That is so clever. And it seems like solving physical installation hurdles with dedicated hardware features extends to the audio routing as well, right? I saw the unit features a dedicated 3.5mm audio de-embedded volume knob.
Yeah, it actively strips the audio out of that combined HDMI video and audio signal.
Meaning you can route the sound directly to an independent commercial speaker system without needing extra splitters.
Exactly.
Though I do have to push back a little bit on the sheer amount of physical hardware here.
Really? How so?
Well, between the IR remote, the front panel push buttons, and these physical de-embedding knobs, doesn't a heavily physical interface feel a bit antiquated? I mean, we do so much of this routing through software layers or wireless casting now.
I get why you'd think that. In a typical consumer setting, maybe it is a bit old school, but in commercial AV, you cannot rely on a software interface that might freeze, or, a network protocol that drops packets.
Ah, because of the reliability factor.
Exactly. If you were managing a high-end retail display or that sports bar we mentioned earlier, you need absolute physical reliability. Hardwired buttons and analog knobs mean that when an input needs to change, it changes instantly, every single time.
That makes a lot of sense. And actually, that demand for zero latency, absolute reliability, is exactly what buyers are talking about online. Looking at the HDTV Supply reviews, you see users like Hopkins who praised this controller. He called it a, quote, quick solution involving resolution settings.
Yeah, I saw that when he was specifically calling out how easily it handled that exact 4K to 1080p split we talked about, and doing it without requiring hours of custom programming.
It literally takes what used to be a highly complex, frustrating routing problem and condenses it into an out-of-the-box plug-and-play solution.
Just plug it in and it works.
Right. But, even with plug-and-play tech, there is always the human element.
Oh, absolutely. There always is.
Right. So there's this reviewer named John M. who gave the hardware a high rating, but he made a point to note that when he called customer support, the staff was, quote, less than friendly.
Oh.
Yeah, and this is even though they successfully answered his question, the company actually replied to the review, apologizing for the tone while expressing they were glad the hardware worked out. I just love that detail. Behind every flawless digital matrix, there's occasionally a grumpy human at a help desk.
That tension between perfect tech and imperfect humans is always there, isn't it? But, if you consider the broader implications of this hardware, it represents a really massive shift.
How do you mean?
Well, creating incredibly complex multi-screen digital environments used to be locked behind massive commercial budgets. You needed specialists. Now, this level of precise, high-definition video splicing is an accessible $300 reality.
It puts commercial-grade display power in the hands of almost anyone. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to ponder today. If a simple box can seamlessly tile multiple screens into one giant, flawless display today, acting as that perfect digital paper cutter, what happens to our living spaces when our physical walls become entirely digital, borderless canvases? Will we even need standalone controllers routing signals, or will the screens themselves start doing the thinking?